Hey everyone, welcome back to Coffee with Cam, where we explore the journeys of remarkable professionals on their way to and through the boardroom. I'm your host, Cameron Clark, and I'm joined by Ilona Roodt, a finance professional, board member, and passionate advocate for climate change, technology, and community empowerment. Ilona serves on the board of TUHF Group and has been involved with organizations like Dublin Economica. She's an expert in governance, finance, and ESG. Ilona, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Kim. It's a pleasure to be here.
For our viewers and listeners, let's start at the beginning. You've taken a proactive approach to landing board roles. Can you tell us about how you secured your first board seat and what was going through your mind?
Certainly, I've been working in the same financial services organization for 18 years. I got to a point where I needed to think of the future. And that's when I came across the Dublin sort of kind of way of doing things. And that sparked my interest in terms of what I could do as an exec going forward. It was a trial and error to find my place and see where's best suited for me to play. Putting my hand up, indicating I wanted to be part of the board, which I did.
We were talking about jumping into your first board role. What was going through your mind at the time? You mentioned looking into the Dublin program, intrigued by the Dublin way of doing things, and you were looking towards the future about what ways you can contribute to the world and society. Hopefully that jogs your memory and we can pick up from there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Having worked in the same organization for some time, I was interested in the Dublin way of doing things, particularly the global perspective. I felt that that would offer me something different to what I could kind of access in my immediate environment. The networking aspect, when I started, I was struck by how friendly people are. And that was inviting just to connect with like-minded people looking to grow and expand their careers. So that was significant for me. I'm some time away from formal retirement, but it's given me a window into what's possible and I'm enjoying it. I'm growing as a person. These are the kind of boards I enjoy, like a little structure. You can imagine you're dealing with entrepreneurs who are starting up in some cases, others who may be a little bit more established. Our role as the advisor is to create that structure and advise them. It's not always perfect. It's going to require us remaining in having a focus, having a vision of how to guide these entrepreneurs. That was a learning curve for me.
Think that you can't obtain a board seat into retirement. When you started looking into board roles and particularly the Dublin way, and you notice that there is a lot of possibility, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, did you have that same policy that you had to be close to retirement to join a board? And what were some of the things that when you looked into it, you say, oh, what are these possibilities that appeal to you?
So definitely the possibility of doing remote work. I'm contemplating moving from a busy inner city area to a coastal area. I thought a flexible working environment would be ideal. So let me explore this and see how I can build something to a point when I am ready for that, how it can work. So I was excited by that prospect. One of Callum's promises is that within 60 days, your career or life can change. I can guarantee that. Having the experience of trying to get on a board and getting on a board, you talking to people you would never have spoken to, that experience has given me something I would never have had.
Callum does make bold promises, and for many people, they are probably daunting. And here you are affirming that those promises are a reality. My hat is off to you if I was wearing a hat. You have a background in finance and governance, plus studies in the energy field. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it.
How have these experiences helped you stand out as a board candidate, especially in industries like tech or climate initiatives, rather?
So I do think finance or professionals have an ability to kind of get some clarity out of discerning clarity in in a lot of information. So I think that's something I've built over the years in understanding financial strategy and reporting, being able to distill and break things down simply and clearly, I think is helpful on any board. And I think finance can be complicated in a bit of the language, but if you can break that down simply for everyone to kind of chat about, then I think it makes it understandable and clear. So I think that's a component. I think when I joined the company that I work for currently, I was, a small organization. You can be everything to everybody, and it's a good learning ground. That's where I built up my governance knowledge. On a board, you can't think about the ideal group governance structure. It's basic principles. Do you have non-disclosure agreements? What is the role of the advisory board? Do you have a finance policy, for example? It's going to be, you're not going to come with you're always going to have more knowledge and vast knowledge. And it's to try and use those principles to assist an entrepreneur in a way that's helpful, that's going to build their business. The area that I'm really continue to be interested in would be the energy field, and more very specifically, the company that I work for finances acquisition and the refurbishment of buildings. So we do inner city areas, township areas in South Africa, and urban areas. And we're now looking at EDGE certified buildings. So that's a World Bank program, unlocking energy and water savings through processes that you put in place from planning and the construction process. So it's something that's close to my heart and relevant at work. Any business has processes, and embedding social impact. How are you influencing your environment, your community? How are you impacting and influencing your environment? Those are things that we should be aware of, and I guess can build upon those principles. So I have found it useful, but I think it's broad principles that that can apply all over. I guess you may have some uncertainty in globally around perhaps President Trump not promoting renewables, but it's still relevant globally because that's the way the world is going.
Well said. You said a couple of things I want to unpack. As we've noted, you're a financial professional and you have specific interests in industries and contributing to certain industries, but you're bringing that lens to different industries. Finance is a universal need, not a universal language where professionals translate for non-finance speakers. It's important to do that well. You've struck a chord with me because I believe boards play a role in shaping our society. And you talked about different ways that companies can do that through ESG and social policies. Can you elaborate more on that? Why is that important to you?
I started my career working in banks, and those organizations feel a little bit cold and boxy for me. And I think I had the opportunity to move to a smaller organization. Our main purpose is to create a dire need in South Africa that has a direct social impact in creating safe places to live.
Awesome.
In something.
Everyone needs a roof over their head. So thank you. One of the things you mentioned was not waiting for the perfect board opportunity. And you're a go-getter, Ilona. You're not waiting for anything to come to you. So, for those who are listening and want to land their first board seat, what's the single piece of advice you'd give?
Don't wait for the perfect moment. Connect with people, talk about their experiences. If you see something of interest, it may not be exactly what you do, but there may be something in that role that appeals. And by working with other professionals, you'll pick up quickly, what's expected of you. There's also loads of material that can guide you, but I really think it's about finding your own way, a way that works for you. Don't think you might land your first board seat and grow this company to $1 billion. If that startup is still in existence after 12 months, that is an achievement. So think You may want to be on listed boards and we all have our own path, but that is a small victory of enabling an entrepreneur to really develop clear goals and set milestones in place. That's going to really mean a huge amount to him. So just thinking about things in a very simple way, taking it a day by day, that's been helpful for me. And I'm really trying to pace myself.
All right. So take it day by day, pace yourself, and embrace the help. So, speaking of the help, obviously, you read in one way or another that the development community has been foundational to your journey. Did you anticipate that? And then what ways was it perhaps surprising?
I have met with some of the team in South Africa. It's a powerhouse of South African ladies that really blew me away, just meeting them and what they've been able to accomplish. I was inspired to hear people's journeys. That inspires me to think about what I want to achieve. People are generous in their time. People are generous in just sharing about themselves and what they do. And I've found the board I'm on currently very supportive. We're working together to understand the organization we're working with to achieve something. So that's been my experience. I have had an experience also that didn't go that well, and that was more of an entrepreneur that seemed very chaotic. He had a lot going on. He wasn't really able to clearly put together a plan of what he wanted us to work on. And despite giving feedback, it didn't kind of go as planned. But that was also helpful to have that experience and to learn and say, okay, well, in setting up a board, we need to give feedback to the entrepreneur. He needs to work with us and he needs to show that he's committed to taking on the advice. And that wasn't the case. So that in itself was a good experience.
I'm glad you talked about the positives and the negatives of your experience, because even the negative can be turned into a positive, as you just mentioned. Right? It's learning experience. Nothing smooth all the time. But going back to the support you received in South Africa and for the development community at large, it's like the old African proverb, which I'm sure you're familiar with. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Okay. You're currently applying to new roles and you have a particular interest in tech, climate change, and community empowerment boards. What excites you about these areas now? Are there any trends or opportunities you're watching closely?
I think particularly seeing a community that has very little resources, able to transform their lives and have a meaningful existence they didn't have before, and empowering them means so much.
Very impressive. Quick fire round now. Ready?
What? Yeah.
Let's do it. Book, podcast, or person who's inspired you recently?
I'd say Steve Bartlett. So I know that he's got the Diary of the CEO as in a book and his podcast, but I've really enjoyed a lot of his podcasts. I haven't listened to all of them, but a few of them. So he's someone that really jumps out at me, I think, in his just natural way of talking to people and success story. He mentioned he'd been offered a few kind of opportunities and he turned them down. So very true to himself. So that inspires me. Be who you are and do it your way.
He distills the journey of leadership in a palatable way. All right. Next, one habit or mindset that's helped you most in your board journey?
Curiosity and perseverance, I guess. Curiosity. Don't have a preconceived idea of how this is going to turn out. Rather, check it out and be curious and see what unfolds.
Nothing ever goes away. You think, where can people follow your work or connect with you online?
LinkedIn is probably the best way. My name, Ilona Roodt. I don't have my kind of credentials offhand, but yeah, my URL, but I can get that to you. Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll be in the show notes for people to find. So
Cool.
thank you. All right, Ilona, thank you so much for sharing your insights, journey, and energy with us today. It's been fantastic. Everyone tuning in, thanks for joining us on Coffee with Cam. If you enjoyed this episode, connect with Ilona on LinkedIn. Her URL will be in the show notes. Follow along for more stories from inside the boardroom. I'll see you next time.